So this is the number one mistake I see men make during an unwanted breakup. What's going on, fellow explorer? My name is Dave, and I help high-achieving men, smart men, move through breakups, especially breakups that they didn't see coming. And in working with so many men over the past few years, there's one thing that I see many of them doing, and it's one of the biggest mistakes. And so oftentimes what I see with them is that they don't see this breakup coming. So one of the things that I hear a lot is, they are home and their partner comes home, they drop the keys, and almost out of nowhere they say, hey, I don't want to be in this partnership anymore. And in this moment, the man's entire world gets shattered. It feels like it comes out of nowhere. And immediately they start thinking, what is it that I did wrong? How can I fix this? What is she going through? What is she thinking? What is she not understanding? What does she need to know? And this starts this repeating spiral that they start going through over the next couple of weeks, over the next couple of months. They start asking themselves, did she even really love me? They find themselves waking up in the middle of the night with these questions. They find themselves weeks later going on these deep dive scavenger hunts of their ex-partner's Instagram, wanting to see if she's already seeing someone else. They are asking their common friends, what is she saying about me? He's starting to wonder oh, I wonder if she's going to regret this. He finds himself in the gym, working out extremely hard, harder than he's used to, right? One of these thoughts is oh, let me just get back into this gym and make her regret leaving me. But in these moments when he is working out in the gym, working out super hard, pushing through his sets, he notices between the reps these looping questions start coming back, wondering, was I not enough for her? What is going on? Why did this happen to me? And he spirals again and again. He finds himself at work. He might be in the midst of a big project and he just cannot keep his focus. He might be in meetings, getting called upon, getting asked for his thoughts on things, and he finds himself kind of daydreaming. And as someone is talking to him, his mind wanders off to his ex again, wondering oh, is she thinking about me? Trying to think of the perfect text to send her so that he can finally get this closure and figure out what happened, And so many times I see these men in this space where they are looping and losing focus and they can't be productive and their sleep starts to suffer. Everything starts to suffer because in every soft, quiet moment, even in intense moments, when they want to be present, their mind starts looping on these questions. Am I lovable? Am I worth it? Am I worthy? Is she already with someone else? And they oftentimes describe themselves as being quite held together on the outside, right? They're able to still get into the gym. They're able to still show up to work. They're able to still go to these social events where they are meeting with friends and networking and all these things. And so on the outside, they look fine, but on the inside, there is a hundred different versions of why, looping and running through his head. So if this sounds like a place where you are at, I would invite you to check the description below this video because I love to deep dive on this. So if any of this resonates with you and you want to dive deeper on it, click the link below this video and figure out how we can dive deeper on this. But that brings me to the next part of this story, right? The big mistake that I see men making when they are going through a breakup that feels unexpected, that feels like it's out of nowhere. And they, like I shared, they are constantly wondering about her, wondering what she's doing, wondering what they don't understand about her decision. And never do they ask themselves, what do I need? What do I need to be okay? What do I need to do to move through this? And this is the big mistake, right? They are so laser focused on her, their ex-partner, what they didn't do right, what she's doing now, what she's thinking about. Did she ever really love me in the first place? And they never stop to ask what they need. And so this is a big mistake, because thinking about their ex-partner is something that they can't control. You have no control over her decisions. You have no control over her thoughts. You have no control over her actions. And when you get caught in this loop, it is basically a dead end, right? Because when you cannot control something and you're trying to understand it, right, this just leads to this looping behavior. And so the big switch is starting to ask, what do I need? What do I need to be good? What do I need to move on? What do I need to bring peace back into my life? And so the analogy I like to use is like a boxing match, right? When the ex-partner tells you that they do not want to be in partnership anymore, that's like metaphorically getting punched in the face. And what does a bad boxer do? Right? They either go straight into fight mode without even thinking, and they're wildly swinging blows, right? Which is a recipe for disaster, or they go into freeze and they kind of lay back and get walloped upon. Also, not the best tactic. What does a really good boxer do? They cover up. Right? They give themselves space so that they can calm themselves down. Right? They're all jostled from the hit. So that first step is like, how do I put space so that I can come back to grounded, get my breath back, relax a little bit. And only from this space does the fighter then make decisions. When they can make sure that they give themselves enough time and space to relax again, they can make much better decisions. And so this is the key here, right? When you are constantly focusing on your ex-partner who left the relationship, you are constantly in this either throwing Hail Marys or you're in freeze, right? This is the two ways to think about this, right, is when you are in this fight response, you are jumping back into the gym, you are jumping back into dating, you are throwing yourself into work without actually checking to see if you're okay. You just immediately distract yourself. Ultimately, it's a very clever distraction to keep you from being with the things that are getting churned up because of this breakup. Or the other way, you fall back into freeze, this is when you start coming into yourself. This is where the depression sets in. This is where you stop going out. This is when you stop talking to people as much. This is when you find yourself just watching show on repeat, scrolling through Instagram, checking her profile, all of these things, right? You go into this depressive state. So the way to get around this, right, is you have to figure out how to come back to yourself. Right? And the key here is learning how to regulate your own nervous system. Right? Because a lot of men that I work with, they think that they can think their way out of this. So they either have to get the right material or they just have to stop thinking about their ex. But what's happening to you, the fight or freeze response that's happening, is a body response. So you can't outthink this thing. You basically have to learn how to feel it. And the first step in doing that is learning how to regulate your own nervous system so that, like the boxer, you can come back to a space of calm, a space of clarity. And when you can make sure that you can get yourself to that space instead of focusing so much on what she's doing and why she did the thing that she did and does she love you and all these things, when you can come back to the space of clarity, you can make much clearer decisions, much better decisions. From just like the boxer, once they have that space to come back and cover up from themselves, see what their opponent is actually doing, they have much better information and they can act on that information from a space of clarity. And when you can do this, you will notice that your workouts get better. Right? You're not lost in between sets. Your work and your productivity at work gets better. You can focus again. Right? You're no longer you're not stuck in this fight or freeze response. You're grounded, and so your productivity comes back, your ability to show up comes back, your ability to show up for your friends, for your family, for potential new relationships. These all comes back, but it starts with you being able to come back and regulate your own nervous system first. So again, this is some of my favorite work to do. So if this is resonating with you, right, if you find yourself in these similar thought patterns where you're looping, and you can't stop thinking about them, and you just want to get back to being productive. You want to get your focus back. You want to be back to basically the life you had before you met this person, and maybe even better. Right? I invite you to click the link below this video and follow the instructions on how we can work deeper together, because I would love to work with you, and this is something I'm super, super passionate about. So thank you for being here with me today, and I know that this healing journey feels like super chaotic, but we can take it one step at a time and get you back to a place better than you ever have been before. Thank you again, and peace.